Alright, here we go, guys. Welcome back. FNUSA57 here, once again on my Xbox One, bringing you another video for Gears 5. Today I will be covering all of Act 4. This is the 100% completion for the easiest method possible on Inconceivable difficulty so that you can get the That's Inconceivable achievement. I have the previous acts covered in videos. If you want to check those out, you are more than welcome to do so. I'm playing on Inconceivable with specialty mutators on to make this easier. And of course, Casper is helping me out playing on beginner. So like I said, this is the easiest possible method for doing this, but it is not necessarily the only method. You can take the mutators off, you can put harder mutators on. It's really up to you and what you want to do, but if you're an achievement hunter like myself, you're probably just doing this for the achievement. So that means you want to get it done as fast as possible. It is possible to do this with the same set of mutators, but have both players on Inconceivable. However, it does make it more difficult, so just bear that in mind, that it might not be worth it depending on what you want to do. You can also do this by yourself as just one player, but again, it does make it more difficult, so completely up to you. I'll show you the mutators that we have on once it actually loads in, which right now, due to the Predator Hunt Horde event, the loading times are greatly increased, unfortunately. And also, there's some weird game audio bugs. So if you lose game audio like I did in Act 2, that would be why. Now you can see we're right here at the beginning, Act 4, Chapter 1, which thankfully there's only 2 chapters. And the mutators that we have on are Big Head, Active Reload refills the clip, Headshot Explosion, Grenade, Enemy modifiers to freezing damage, and total ammo to doubled, with Jack cooldowns on fast and carry over all Jack progression. This is pretty much a straightforward act. It's cool, but there's only a couple challenging parts. It's not going to take you as long as Act 2 or Act 3. You can kind of push ahead for most of this, and we're just going to be abusing Jack's abilities as we've been doing for the entirety of this whole thing. So, if you're on Inconceivable, you do want to stay back a little bit more, and the biggest threat to you in this section is the cankers. There's also lancers and stuff like that on the ground, but just kind of stay back and prioritize the cankers, because those will one-hit kill you even with the freezing modifier active. At which point you're just going to wait for the Hammer of Dawn targeting to come online, and the Hammer of Dawn is going to finish off both of those carriers for you. If you wish to change your weapons or anything, you can. There's a Lancer GL right there if you don't have one. I would highly recommend that you take that. Stay back a little bit, because more Imagos will come from the left side there, which the robot piloted by yours truly will take out all of these little annoyances for you, or at least he's technically supposed to. He can be a little bit slow at doing his job, though, so it may actually be easier for you to take them out yourself. Frustrating, but yeah, it happens. To save a couple seconds, you can go ahead and run over to this car, because this is where the objective's going to tell you to go. Unfortunately, you do have to wait for the dialogue to run out. Once the dialogue runs out, then you'll have the option to interact with the vehicle and get a free lift from, you guessed it, Cole and his fun little mech friend thing there.
Thanks for the lift, Cole.
Academy's close. Let's get through this mess.
If you're using the mutators that I have on, this will be ridiculously easy because that's what the video is designed to do, is to make this as easy as possible for you. By the way, there is a Jack Ultimate upgrade in this section if you don't have it already. I wouldn't recommend getting it on Incon because on Incon you can die very easily, but this is where that upgrade is located. This is going to be pretty much a sprint and run situation, so I recommend you pulse, and then I recommend you switch to the active camouflage or cloak ability. And we're going to abuse the cloak ability to get through these enemies without actually really having to worry too much about taking damage. It is still possible for you to die. An errant bullet or shot from that Swarmac will kill you. So just abuse that cloaking ability. There's a few ammo packs if you need them. There's going to be a lot of enemies in this room. So I would recommend that you kind of hang out here. Switch to pulse the building so you'll have an idea for where everything is. Then switch back to cloak. Go ahead and nail the cloak when you're up here. Execute the little enemies. There will be a warden that you have to deal with, which we're going to use the freezing flash ability for the warden. So I'll just kind of take a little bit of cover, mark the warden so that I know where he's at, use the flash ability on him, and then just start unloading on him. If you're outside and you can use your Lancer GL, it works really, really well for that. Now do be careful because there will be like a couple drones on the other side of the building, so be ready to use your cloak ability and just make sure that this building is cleared out. Of course, there's plenty of ammo up here. There's also grenades. If you wish, you can grab those. Now, once again, I would recommend abusing the cloak ability. It just makes it easier because the Swarmac won't target you. The next part is just marginally more difficult. But you're going to have a whole bunch of enemies out there on the field. And they're going to come towards this building that you're in. So you're going to need to kill them off. That's why we have the long shot from the previous act. Or you can use the hammer. Either way works.
Academy's clear.
The club took down our Raven. We have wounded the KIA. We need help now. Oh shit. Copy that, Paddock. Delta, Paddock needs backup at the tomb.
We heard. We're on our way.
That smoke's where Paddock went down. You three head out. I'll stay back and protect this beacon. I'll see you on the other side, Dad. Count on it, James.
Sheriff wants deployed his beacon. We're under a lot of fire here. How soon can you get a satellite overhead? One's heading your way now, Sierra. Don't suppose it has a turbo load? No, but that's not a bad idea. Iris, make a note.
I already made it known, Damon.
Looks like they're trying to start a hive here.
Yeah, right on that doorstep.
For this section, you're going to want to either have cloak or stim on. You can do the same thing we did in the previous section, where you go in, you pulse to see where the targets are, and then go through with stim or cloak. It's up to you. Really depends on what you want to do. With the damage bonus, I just go loud and shoot my way through. But that is why I said you had to be careful. And you may wish to instantly swap back and then activate your stim because of the juvies. The rejects aren't very hard to deal with, but the juvies, on the other hand, they're a bit of a pain in the butt. Remember that you have to hold the left bumper down in order to cycle Jack's abilities. Some of these rejects you'll be able to execute. Some of them you will not. Doesn't hurt to quickly cycle back to stim if you're getting pushed by a juvie or a reject and you just really quickly need that instant survive. Like right there, I was getting pushed by that juvie, so I had to go ahead and deploy stim. Rejects are fairly easy to deal with. You actually want to shoot them in the leg if at all possible. Blow off their leg and it makes life a lot easier to deal with them because they're slow and they crawl. Also, if they take enough damage, once you blow off their leg, they'll just automatically self-destruct. Which is why I saved the Boltok from the previous act, because the Boltok makes life very easy in dealing with rejects. You can literally pretty much get them to self-destruct in about 2 shots if you have the pulse damage multiplier on. This section gets a little trickier because we're going to have to deal with a stump. So I recommend you kind of stay behind this wall, and then I recommend that you use your cloak ability and neutralize the drones first if you can. Just remember that that thing shoots a barrage of rockets, so it's really, really annoying. And then when you can, since you're safe behind this piece of cover, switch to pulse. And it's the bastions that are the problem. So you need to get hit to flash, and that's the problem. You need Jack to flash, but sometimes the game just won't let you use the ability, and if that happens, then you just get screwed. But that's the easiest way to deal with the bastions unless you have a boom shot. If you don't, then you have this really annoying load time to go through, so it's a personal preference on how you want to do it, but the bastions need to go immediately. They're like your biggest threat, and you can't really kill the stump unless you get super lucky. You can't kill the stump before the bastion comes out. It's super annoying. As you can see, the stump doesn't really take that much damage, so alright, see, there we go. I was able to freeze that bastion. And that's what we need to happen, is we need the bastion frozen. It's just bastions in this section are a nightmare. Because it's scripted to where you can't actually kill the stump before the bastion shows up. At least on this difficulty. So you're kind of like stuck waiting for the bastion. and the entire time you're waiting for the Bastion, you have a freaking stump just shooting the shit out of you with salvos. Which is really annoying, because I hate Bastions. And they don't stay frozen very long either, which is another thing that makes Bastions super annoying. But once you get rid of the Bastion, well, there's two Bastions and they keep switching targets. Once you get rid of both of them, then it's easy. Except for the fact that salvo rockets are always annoying. And my cat just decided to come out of hiding and climb up here to be annoying. Hey, hey, hey. Alright. Got a grenadier right up in here. Alright. Thank goodness that section's over.
I'm not seeing a way through here. Ideas? Jack, zap that lift.
That section's only a pain because of the Bastions. And when the game doesn't want to let you actually activate Jack's abilities. Which is what happened the first time and why I died, because I couldn't activate the flash ability to freeze the Bastion.
Paddock, we're almost there. What's your status?
It's kind of a double-edged sword. If you have a third player that is perfect on Jack, then it's easier, but it's coordinating the timing between the person playing on Incon and the person playing Jack. If your timing's off, even by like a fraction of a second, you can get insta-killed.
We're on our way to him now.
They didn't make it very forgiving, that's for sure. But then again, it is inconceivable, so.
Come on, let's get in there.
And of course, I had the whole thing where I don't have my relic long shot. We don't have any of our relic weapons because, you know, the game decided to not let us take our relic weapons from Act 2.
Which of you wants to die next?
Paddock, Delta's here.
About time. Now help me clear out these guys.
And then in this section, you got to get rid of that pouncer first. That's the thing that'll kill you the fastest. Every once in a while, the game just, like, messes up, and it won't let you use Jack's abilities for whatever reason.
Take down that troll!
Jack, halt.
Get down here, to the cemetery, and watch the nest.
Technically, you're supposed to go down through the door and fight all these guys on the ground floor, but
Target that troll.
you can sort of cheat the system a little bit and take out a few of them from up here.
Jack, halt.
All right, they're down. Time to regroup.
It's a good idea to grab frags. They're just more helpful than incendiary grenades in this section. There's plenty of lancers and enforcers, hammer bursts, things of that nature around here. You can kind of tell. It's like, oh, I wonder what this is.
Ready and waiting.
Nothing good for us, that's for sure. Oh, hey, look, there's an innocent speck of dirt over here, too. And then once you're ready,
Paddock.
you can go to town here.
But this isn't over.
This is about the safest spot.
You heard him.
Nothing's really actually safe, though.
Hunters! Watch their portholes!
Got another one. Aw, shit, guys, that's opening up. We gotta close him.
Now, if you're really lucky, the frag that you planted earlier will take out the nest. However, a lot of times that doesn't happen.
Throw! Left side! Incoming frag!
Incoming frag.
You have to be careful of those frags.
Take that.
Jack, pulse.
Don't get complacent because there's always nests.
Got it.
Watch the right flank!
Giant on the right.
Now this is where it gets a bit tricky. You want to pulse, and then you want to flash. Repeat the process. Pulse, flash, headshot. And then pulse again and start dealing with the drones.
Oh, shit. You got a warning and a basket.
That's it! They have been dominated!
All right, we're done here. Paddock, you good?
I've had worse.
If you need ammo, there's ammo around here. There's a few explosive crates around here as well, so you can grab rounds for your GL or things of that nature if you want.
Bring that echo speaker.
Like, they give you a okay amount of ammo, but they don't really give you enough ammo.
Got a plan. Heavier than it looks.
No, right?
Our plan was to place the beacon behind the tomb. So go do that, and I'll guard the front. Oh, and if I die, it wasn't terrible working with you.
Likewise, Paddock. Let's go.
This next part gets a little on the ridiculous side, and it does require either the player playing Jack or the player that's like on Incon to do a lot of swapping for abilities. Plus, there's still a relatively high chance that you'll die here.
Bear, Echo's beacon is live.
Just in time, Delta.
Both players need the hammer.
We aren't all the beacon.
Before anything gets crazy, you want to set a shock trap there and there. Switch abilities back to flash and then pulse. And you need to just start hammering. And more than likely you're gonna die if people don't know where to shoot. So, when you go through this, it's definitely a little bit of memorizing the spawn points because you don't have that much time, and you got to lay those shock traps down. You'll see why we lay the shock traps.
Just in time.
So grab your hammer, put a shock trap there on the right, and put a shock trap there on the left. Of course, sometimes Jack bugs the hell out, and you can't actually lay the shock trap. Which, if that happens, then yeah. Now, mostly you're dealing with drop shots. There's some buzzkill scions too, I think. For some reason, my Jack abilities are bugged out now completely, and I can't lay the shock trap, which is freaking ridiculous. I think that's because Jack is stuck. That's awesome. I can use pulse, but I can't use the shock trap. Okay, there we go. Now I can use the shock trap. Alright. At this part, you need to switch back to stim. The player on Incon can't really take cover. They have to hide. And it's better to burst fire the Hammerodon. If you're going to fire the hammer relatively close to you, then you want to make sure that you activate Jack's stim ability first. Replace the shock trap there on the right and the shock trap on the left if you can.
We're a little busy right now.
And activate stim and then hammer the snatchers. The first initial strike of the hammer actually does more damage than holding the beam on the target continuously. So, same thing as before. There's two main spawn points where we're hammer striking right there, and then the same section over to the right. So just memorize those two spawn points, and you want to take out the drop shots immediately. Otherwise, what'll happen is what happened to me, where I got hit by the drop shot, and then for some reason Jack wouldn't let me deploy the shock traps. The shock traps you deploy so that you can kill those pouncers easier, because it'll stun them. Otherwise, they'll hit you with the tail quills and basically kill you. Now, unfortunately, you have a choice here that you have to make, which is just dumb. The choice doesn't affect exactly what you have to do for the game. It just affects the storyline. Like I said, it's really, really dumb. But it's something that's been in the game since launch, unfortunately. Now we're going to technically get into Act 4, Chapter 2. And the reason why I didn't care about the GL, even though I said that you're going to need the GL later, is for the reason that you lose your weapons in this section. Don't ask how you lose your pistol and then the pistol is replaced, because that just doesn't make any sense, but that's the game. It likes to take away your weapons from time to time.
This way's no good. Here, help me lift this. Alright, okay, I think we got this. Shit! Control! This is Delta! We are in distress! Mayday! 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 No! I can't breathe! Help! Help!
All right now.
Car!
He's holding a line up here. I gotta help the gears get back to the wall.
Hey, you heard it. We gotta move.
Thankfully, both of these chapters are relatively short.
Okay, get the other
Otherwise, I wouldn't have hard drive space for the full recording right now.
At least a few beacons are still up.
You want to go through this relatively quickly. I recommend grabbing a GL. There are regular Lancers. There's a Buzzkill.
JD,
Be careful not to bounce the buzzkill and hit yourself with it. Some of the juvies will be poppers as well. And of course there's going to be some grenadiers. The Scion, you need to freeze. It has a boom shot, and that's just terrible.
Good. Now where's the rest of them?
Look, JD, I need you to keep it together. It's not gonna help anyone if you get yourself killed.
You definitely want to grab frags, and really the rest is up to you what you want to do. If you want a Lancer, Gnasher, I'd recommend taking the boom shot. There's an overkill, but that's kind of a useless weapon for this difficulty.
Shit! There goes another beacon.
Fred, our beacon's down. They call it, kid. Pull back to the wall.
How about you roll over? Now play dead.
Again, this section relatively easy, but you need to get into cover, which I don't think is actually gonna. Ooh, yeah. Whew. Talk about lucky on that one. If it wasn't for that freezing, I would have actually died right there. So, I got really lucky. And that's why we have the freezing modifier active. Again, we're just going to abuse the hell out of the pulse ability. You don't want to push up and kill these enemies too quick. Once the stump actually shows up, you're good though.
Only one left.
Again, there's more ammo and all sorts of stuff up here on the right side you can gather if you need. Okay, he's down. I was going to say, sometimes it glitches out and it doesn't spawn the last enemy, which if it does that, then it's kind of SOL. But as long as the stump shows up, you're good.
Thanks for the save. Hey, where's Del?
Big head mode makes these cutscenes just totally ridiculous.
So anyone know the best way back to the wall? There is no best way. Just go.
Here you can grab boom shots if you want them. You can grab the buzzkill. And there is a infinite ammo box here that also usually refills explosive ammo. I recommend that you take cover because you can take damage and die in this. And you cannot use Jack's abilities for this.
I'm trying. We're all over this swamp sheet. Yeah, I see it. Oh, that's brilliant, isn't it? Delta Whiplock. I'll try to get us free. Get out there and cover my ass.
Shit! We just lost another beacon.
At this point, you're going to want to take cover. It's better to have the long shot, but we have boom shots, so, you know, That's adequate.
Snipers up top!
The snipers should be one of your first priorities. Also the juvies. Juvies are really annoying. You have to be careful. A lot of juvies have grenades. If you're playing on Incon, that'll kill you. But if you're playing on a lower difficulty, you can kind of take a couple explosions before you die, which is quite convenient. If you're careful, you can actually get ready for this next fight by planting a couple grenades there, refilling your grenades and GL rounds. Now, you guys already know how carriers work. It's not the carrier in and of itself that's the problem. It's the cankers that it fires. So you want to make sure that you use your explosives. And the carrier is the most dangerous thing. So kill the carrier, pulse, and then as soon as you can, switch from the pulse ability to the stun ability. Or not stun, but stim ability, sorry. And basically, the reason why we switch to the stim is simply for an insurance policy. Because if the flock decides to come to you and does the vortex thing, then you're in a bit of a sticky situation. Because the leeches can pounce on you, and each leech is capable of killing you. At which point, we're back on the truck, where we have the infinite ammo box again. For the most part, it's about not taking damage here. So, use the sides of the truck for cover as best as possible. And remember, you cannot use Jack's abilities for this.
All right, everyone out.
You can leave your buzzkill there.
Come on, Delta, let's hold the line!
That's what
Remember, pulse.
we gotta slow it down. Give it everything you got.
This is scripted, so you just have to hold out until the cutscene.
You're goddamn. Oh, when I said the fun part, I meant fun for the cold train, baby. Oh, what the? No! Cold!
The pedal is literally to the metal! He doesn't go any faster!
And it's very important that you've kept your Lancer GL, because for the next part, you're going to need it. All of this is relatively scripted. The damage that you take, once again, scripted. The bastions being the only real problem. That would have actually killed me. Thankfully, he went after Casper. Pretty much anytime you're in this truck, you cannot use Jack's abilities. Once you get out of the truck, you can use Jack's abilities. So again, it's all about the whole pulse. Watch out for drop shots, which you don't want to be right next to each other because you need to be able to move. But other than that, there isn't really a whole lot of cover in that area, so you just have to be careful and hope that the drop shot doesn't aim for you. I recommend pulsing once or twice and then switching to the stim ability. Cloak doesn't help that much in that section because you have to kill the enemies and the enemies have to get closer to trigger the next section. So just bear that in mind. You could use Cloak if you wanted to. I wish they would hurry up and improve these loading times.
Delta, we hold them here. They can't get past this wall.
Here they come!
You can actually go and hide in front of this truck if you want, which as the player on Inconceivable, that might be the best thing for you to do. So like I said, pulse once or twice, switch the pulse back to stim. That's the safest option, but it does make it take a little longer if you use that. You have the Scions that are a big problem. Scions are what killed me last time there because of the drop shot. I got stuck on Casper. It wasn't his fault.
Special delivery! Holy shit! Bird, you beautiful maniac!
Delta, what are you doing down there? Get your asses up! Come on!
Now, this next part is the tricky part. The flocks aren't too bad to deal with because you have turrets. You can kill them pretty quickly. But it's the actual boss fight that's the tricky part. I would personally recommend just staying on stim. But if you want to make it go a little faster, kick the dude off of the turret. Have Jack use his pulse ability. And then mark one of the flocks. Pick which flock you want to go after. And focus fire on that particular flock. Making sure to use the pulse ability each time that a new flock shows up. It will decrease the amount of time that it takes to actually kill one of the flocks. Now, these flocks aren't as aggressive. It's basically just to waste your time, so to speak. So you don't really have to freak out about the flock. They'll pretty much just float around up there. I've never actually had a flock hit me before, regardless of the difficulty that I've played on. So just kind of bear with it and enjoy taking your revenge upon all the flocks until the boss shows up. At which point you really do not want to use pulse. You want to switch to either using stim or to using cloak. Either one of those will work. But pulse won't really help you in this situation. The fight's scripted. And it'll knock you off the turret. You start here. So I'm actually going to do the cloak strategy. Keep in mind this ammo pile right here. The reason why that ammo pile is very important is that ammo pile actually refills all ammunition. It refills explosive ammo and it refills normal ballistic ammo. So you can use this cheese on literally any difficulty. And what you want to do is you want to just spam GL rounds, specifically the grenade round, into that thing's mouth. When you get a flock, then that's when you switch to pulse, and you pulse the flock, and then I couldn't switch back fast enough, and we didn't kill the flock fast enough. But you want to switch back to either cloak or stim, so that if the flock drops leeches, it doesn't insta-kill you. That's where mostly the second player that's helping you out comes in, because they focus fire on the flock. but it's just, they take a lot of damage to bring down. So this fight will probably take you a couple of tries, since it does checkpoint halfway through, but it's actually possible to have it glitch when it checkpoints, and then it won't let you finish the fight. It'll kill you, and you'll have to reload the checkpoint. So just bear that in mind. And of course, if you die, then you have to go back to this section. You don't have to spam the GL rounds. It just makes it easier if you're spamming, because the tongues won't even get a chance to show up. And then once that flock shows up, you can pulse. Hopefully you'll hit it early enough. And then I'm going to cloak ahead of time so we don't have the same issue. And yeah, like I said, it'll take you a couple tries. Alright, so as soon as this flock comes in, hit the pulse, and then we're going to hit the cloak ability. I don't know why that uncloaked me right there, but Casper's got me covered with the GL, so that's what you want to do. Make it easy, bring the railgun over, and as soon as it goes to red, just pull the trigger, shoot that big old ugly thing in the face. Next part's difficult, and there is really nothing that makes this any easier. If you have GL rockets, the GL rockets help for that, but otherwise you just gotta shoot the shit out of the tonsils there. Once again, it's scripted. You don't have to spam the rockets like I was. It just makes it a little easier. Whew, that was close. Then we'll get back on the railgun for the second time. As soon as the crosshair turns red, go ahead and fire. We'll just blow off another chunk of this thing.
Then we'll just keep firing until we finish the job. Focus on those
And this is where you just have to keep backing up. You have to back up into this like little doorway. And it does have a chance that it'll kill you, but this is like your best chance to win. You should win. You're supposed to win, but it does have a chance that sometimes like it doesn't checkpoint quite right. But there you go. You'll get this checkpoint. You'll get your achievement for completing all the chapters of the campaign on Inconceivable difficulty. And then, of course, we have to say bye-bye, Jack. I do hope that this video series has helped you out in the completion of the Gears campaign on Inconceivable. If you do have any questions or need help, just feel free to ask. I will always do my best to help you out. And hopefully you enjoyed the campaign. Until next time, my brothers and sisters, thy Legion, stay frosty.
She'll be back.
I know. But not if we find her first.